Hello and welcome to The Olive Tree with me, Julia Fisher, the programme that brings you the stories of believers in Jesus living in Israel today, both Jewish and Arab people, to bring you news of what God is doing there in these days, despite the politics and unrest in the region. My guest today is Maayan Shoshani, who's a team member with Jews for Jesus in Tel Aviv in Israel. Maayan, welcome once again. You shared with us last week about the home for women who are addicted to drugs that you and others on your team have recently opened in Tel Aviv. Let's explore that story further. You say there are not enough homes. There aren't any other homes like this for women in Israel. It's a huge problem. Just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So
even the houses that open sometimes closed. Yeah.
So you have opened the first one in Israel. I guess you've got the eyes of a lot of people watching how you get on.
Yes, there were houses that were opened, different facilities, but either they closed down or there's always a time limit for the women to live. So it's not the first one, but definitely everyone who we even cooperate with or we talk to about has many, many questions.
They say that it's much easier working with men when it comes to rehab rather than women. I guess women's stories can be very, very complicated, can't they? As you mentioned, they've been involved in prostitution to pay for their drugs. So it's very degrading.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think there's a level of women living on the streets and being in prostitution that it's just trauma after trauma after trauma, and trying to escape that life can be very challenging, sometimes more than for a man to do.
People have come to live in Israel, Jewish people from all around the world. Do you find that there's a particular segment of Israeli society that has a greater drug addiction and alcohol problem than others?
Absolutely. I would say definitely Eastern Europe. Most of the people on the streets, both women, men and women, are from Eastern Europe, whether it's Russia or Ukraine or Moldova, all that area and all that section, that is definitely the majority here on the streets.
And why Tel Aviv? Why is Tel Aviv the place where they all go to? Ultimately, I know there's an awful place called the old bus station, isn't there, where a lot of drug addicts end up. Literally, it's the last stop. It's called the last stop.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So that area used to be an area that was a central bus station. But today it just serves as everyone knows that that's where you could get drugs or go to find prostitution. So it's like a little area, a segment of area that's controlled by drugs and prostitution. A lot of drug dealers just abusing the people who buy from them. And it's kind of funny to say, but Tel Aviv also has good weather for people sleeping on the streets. Anywhere else would be either too cold, too hot. And here in Tel Aviv, they really can survive for a long time. Even if they don't have a home, even if they don't have a place to stay in, they can survive on the streets of Tel Aviv. But people give out food here. It's a big city with a lot of people. So they can find food, they can find water, they can find a place to take a shower once in a while, can find maybe support or help. So it is a city that has everything, which I think I've said this last program, but it's for the good and the bad. There's good things and there's the bad things.
Just describe the level of poverty that exists in Israel. For many of our listeners, they'll be surprised that Israel even has any poverty because people think Israel's a rich country, but actually it is quite a problem, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't say many. This is quite the extreme what we see, the situation of just people who absolutely have no home, no paycheck, not even a job, not even a place to put their head at night. And I would say that's an extreme part of the population of Israel. But actually, what we've seen is that a lot of people are just poor in the sense of they might have a small apartment or a place to sleep, but they don't have a job. They don't have a way to provide for themselves, for their children. And a lot of them just end up coming even to us to eat at our food distribution and asking for food, even though they might have a job or a place to stay. But it's just that situation of people who don't look like they're homeless or don't look like they need the help, but are actually really struggling to just finish the day.
Now, you are a team member, as I mentioned before, with Jews for Jesus, which is perhaps better known for being a mission organization. But here you are, you are going to meet these women on the streets. Just take me with you when you go out onto the streets, Maayan. How do you approach these women? How do you get to know them? How do you end up by inviting them into your new home?
So I'll just go back a bit. When we started doing this, I remember we did a lot of training and we researched a lot about these people, what they've been through, how do we approach, how do we not offend them. Um, and I just remember seeing this one guy who was actually working with homeless people in New York, and he was talking about how these people are people. And just like anyone else, they're just looking for human contact, friendship, very, very basic friendship, just someone to care what their name is after what they've been through. Because for most of these people, they just have no one. And the people they did have, whether it's their family or a good friend, have left because of the addiction in their situation. And as we go out, we give out food. We ask them if they want to eat something, if they want to drink, if they're missing anything. And after that, after we help them with the first need, the first basic need that they are looking for in that moment, we just ask for their name, ask how they're doing, where they're coming from, just start up a conversation like with any other new person you just met. And obviously, we're very, very attentive to what they've been through. And we know not to ask, like you wouldn't ask a friend you just met. You wouldn't ask about the trauma they've been through immediately or who hurt them, but you have to build that trust and build that friendship with them before you actually go deeper. But for many of these women, they know us, at least by our face. They know that we come twice a week. We give out food and we care for them. So when we talk to them about the house, they've actually heard it from one another. Word travels fast. So they hear about it, and that's an open door to just tell them about it. And we tell them that they need to get clean, and sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. But if they do want to get clean, they get very excited about the opportunity to actually go live somewhere after that.
So you get to know them. You say you get to know them over a period of time, but presumably some of these women are so sick that they're more dead than alive very often, aren't they? They're physically so sick that they don't have long to live, some of them.
Yes, it depends how old they are, but we also send them to the medical need that they need to get if they do. And we see a lot of these, generally, even before they come to the house, we send them to the hospital if they need, or many times I've seen someone very hurt on the street, so we call an ambulance for them and we check up on them. We've gone to visit them in the hospital. But we try to do what we can, but sometimes the drug addiction is so bad or so deep already that they don't really even want to treat their wounds and they don't even want to go to the hospital. So we do what we can. We offer always the help if the person is willing to receive it.
So, Maayan, you have just got married. You have been very, very involved in setting up this home. You are spending a lot of time on the streets trying to help these women who are in dire, dire need. You're a busy lady. How do you cope with it all?
A lot of prayer. But I think just good time management. I'm also a student, a law student, and it's my third year this year. But I think it's just everyone who's on our team and we go out to the streets, we just love doing it. We see the importance of it, and we just really, really love the people on the streets. And we just really believe that there's hope for them. And I think that makes it all worth it. Even coming back from the vacation I took a few days for my wedding, for a honeymoon, but it was really exciting to see because we build friendships and we've been there for so long now that the people on the streets were excited with me and they wanted to see pictures from the wedding, just giving them out food, and they were very excited. So it built something very, very, very just moving to see that friendship, like a deep friendship, can go so far.
You keep using this word friendship, but I mean, how much do you have in common with these other women? Building a friendship with somebody you've got nothing in common with is very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think every person is a different person. And even me and my husband, the short time that we've been married, we're very different people who operate in very different ways. So I think just love and care and just, a small talk can get very far sometimes.
So how much of the day do you spend out on the streets? How much are you actually hands-on with this work?
So we go out twice a week right now. There was a period where we did it for 3 times a week, and we actually have a food truck that we go out and we drive around. So it usually takes a few hours. We do it in the evenings because the evenings are the times that there are a lot of people on the streets, and they're also very hungry. So we usually go out dinner time and we pack up the food. We have volunteers also who have been with us for a long time, just people who come every week or twice a month. And we pack up the food, we open the place, and then we have 70 meals each time that we give out. So it really depends how long it takes us, but we talk to the people and we give out food and drinks, and it usually takes almost 4 hours each time that we actually do it. So that's twice a week.
I guess you can imagine that this work is going to expand because the problem isn't going to go away. So do you feel this is just the start of something? Do you sense that you're very much in a learning situation and you're learning on the job, but it's going to go on and on?
Yes, absolutely. And I hope we do. We're trying to find more people who do the same thing and work together with them to really do what we can. And it's starting to work, but as you say, it takes time to actually see what's in front of us and see what we've been working towards.
Maayan, we'll hold it there for this week's programme, but we're going to talk to you again next week. So thank you for joining us today. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much.
The Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund is a Christian charity based in the UK that supports the needs of both Jewish believers and Arab or Palestinian Christians living in Israel and the wider Middle East. If you'd like to know more about our work and receive our free bi-monthly newsletter, please visit our website, olivetreefund.org. Meanwhile, join me at the same time next week for another story from the Olive Tree. Until then, goodbye.